There's no denying that Ahsoka is a huge throw of the dice for Disney. They really want this series to do well. They want to have people flooding back to Disney Plus. They want to see subscriber numbers rise. They want to see their stock rise. And so they have thrown everything, even the kitchen sink, at this show in the hopes that it will turn the tides of Disney's fortune. However, when you look at it, and I've looked at the first 3 episodes now, when you look at it, you're going to understand that actually, while they have spent a lot of money on this show, and you can see where some of the money has been spent, there are flaws, which unfortunately are things that are carried over from previous series and movies, and which is going to make this a very, very difficult series to sell to people, especially those who are not used to Star Wars or those who are coming in cold to this particular series. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you want to see more videos like this from myself. Let's get into it. Okay, so over the first 3 episodes, I was kind of hoping, there was a huge amount of, a huge ad campaign about this series. They were looking at lots of trailers and things like that. There was a huge talk about it and things like this. There was big hype going around the series about how this was going to be, a fantastic series and how it was going to connect several areas together in the Star Wars universe. And it does. But that can also, I think, in particular, be its downfall. Now, one of the things that I noticed early on was that if you have seen any of these episodes so far, these first 3, there are certain other series that you're going to have to watch if you want to get some of the references and some of the Easter eggs that are in this show. One of those series is Star Wars Rebels. Now, that is a Disney animated show, and it ran for a few years, and it wasn't that bad. I actually didn't think it was that bad at all. However, there are a lot of Star Wars fans who haven't watched it and won't watch it. And there are also a lot of people who may never have even come across it before. And the one problem with that is that because you have to have certain knowledge in order to go into this series of Ahsoka, it means that you are automatically at a disadvantage when you come into the first episode. Now, if you're coming in cold, and I've seen a few of the Star Wars Rebels episodes, but I haven't seen them all. If you're coming in cold like I am, then there are going to be references in there and you're going to think, well, okay, it's a reference, it means a certain thing, but you may not necessarily know the whole picture and the whole story behind it, as you would do if you'd watched Star Wars Rebels and perhaps even the first couple of series of The Mandalorian. Now, this is great if you're trying to link things together and if your audience knows a lot about Star Wars already. But if you're one of your aims is to get more people to watch Star Wars, to get more people onto the Disney Plus platform, then I think that having such links in these ways, having things in there that they don't necessarily explain, can make it a lot harder for people to come in and look at this series and think, well, okay, they showed this, but what does it actually mean? And they don't actually explain it. There are some things that they will talk about in retrospect and things like this, some ways that they will explain what's gone on before. But in general terms, they tend to put these things in and they go by, and you may not even realise what they are, what significance they have in the wider Star Wars universe. So that's one of the main problems that I had about it for me, first of all. The second problem I had was with the long pauses. Now, in many TV shows and movies, you'll get certain silences or pauses where the character will look here and there or give a certain facial expression, and you can extrapolate from that what the character is trying to say. However, with Ahsoka, this tends to go on for quite a long time sometimes. You get maybe 5 or 6 seconds, but it seems so much longer. You just get two characters looking at each other, or you'll get a long, drawn out focus on one character and then it'll cut. And for me, this slows the whole pace of the series down, and it makes me wonder whether they put these things in to pad it out. Maybe the whole story that they came up with Dave Filoni, maybe it wasn't quite enough to fill up the episodes that they needed to, so they've injected lots of filler and lots of elements to the story that don't actually go anywhere or have no real purpose. And in that sense, it makes it a little bit sluggish, and you have to wait and you have to get through it. And yes, it means that when you get the action scenes, they are, a breath of fresh air. But even the action scenes seem a little bit laboured, a little bit, yes, this is a TV show. It's not going to have the full polish of a movie. but the action scenes seem a little bit laboured, a little bit slow, and a little bit deliberate. There's no. It's almost like they're fighting by numbers. Then they're going through the motions and not necessarily doing anything that you think would be a dangerous thing to do. However, I'm going to go a bit further than that and say that there's also very little dialogue at times in this series. And yes, you want to add a little bit of moodiness, you want to add a little bit of mystery to the things and that kind of thing. But if these writers are being paid by the word, then they're going to be destitute, because there's very few. There's not a lot of dialogue in this series whatsoever. At least not in the first 3 episodes. So it's very hard to get any kind of exposition out of any of the characters or any of the reasons why they're there or why they're doing what they're doing, because you don't really necessarily understand. And Ahsoka Tano is a very quiet character. She doesn't ordinarily say very much. But then you've got other characters who are also there, who also don't necessarily talk very much. Even the droid doesn't necessarily talk very much. Fantastic voice work by David Tennant, by the way. But even he doesn't say that much, and probably has the most dialogue of any of the main characters so far, at least in these 3 episodes. Next thing I'm going to come to is the graphics, which they're CGI, which I think are actually really good. Certainly a lot better than some of the other TV series from Disney that we've seen over the last couple of years. It is very good in many ways. There are certain things here and there, such as the ruins at the beginning of the first episode when she was doing the puzzle. To me, they looked a little bit too much, a little bit fake. Looked a little bit wishy-washy. It didn't necessarily sell it to me straight away. But mostly, I think that the special effects and stuff like that has actually been very good. So that's a plus point for the series, and certainly something that if that's one of your bugbears, you'll probably find this actually very good. However, when you get into some of the other aspects of the story, such as the storyline, that's where it can sometimes fall down. For example, when you had Ahsoka going out of the ship with the spacesuit on, trying to fight the fighters with her lightsabers. Yes, you could say that that's boss level, next level kind of Jedi fighting, but it really just looked a little bit silly. And she's diving around, she's looping and jumping and things like this. It just looked a little bit forced, if you know what I mean. I mean, yes, this is science fiction, but that was seen to be taking a little bit too far for me. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of the series so far. I would love to hear your thoughts on the first 3 episodes and general about Ahsoka down in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you have to say. And as again, don't forget to subscribe and like this video for more things of this nature.